And so what happens is you then look at all of the assets, and what did best out of that was Bitcoin, or all of crypto. Why? Because not only, so gold did okay and equities did well, but Bitcoin did really well because you had both the technology bet and the monetary bet.
Raoul Pal in his latest interview explains why Bitcoin, Ethereum and the rest of the crypto market is primed for a new bull cycle in 2023, with an investment into crypto not only hedging against the debasement of your currency but also being a bet on the future of technology and innovation. Raoul Pal has been unwavering in his conviction into the digital asset space, and here he explains why Bitcoin and the rest of the crypto space is a no-brainer bet going into 2023. Make sure to stick around to the end of the video where Raoul explains why more money printing and debasement of currency is inevitable in the future, and why that it is only going to be a positive for cryptos such as Bitcoin or Ethereum. Also, only a small percentage of my viewers are actually subscribed. If you enjoy finance content, consider subscribing or liking the video. It's free and you can always change your mind.
Somebody tapped me on the shoulder in 2012 and said, you should take a look at Bitcoin. And I saw it immediately as this interesting asset that was kind of like digital gold, but also the blockchain could be the recorded ownership of all of the assets of the financial system. And so I wrote the first ever macroeconomic strategy paper on Bitcoin in 2013 and invested then at $200. I then started Real Vision in 2014 to democratize access to the very best financial knowledge. Those are the twin journeys. And my thesis always was macro and crypto were going to meet, because the only answer to macroeconomic stress is printing money. And printing money actually drives down the purchasing power of a currency.
Of course.
Because you've got too much of it. So if you've got too much of it, it's worth less. So the comparative value of assets goes up. And I knew that cryptocurrency, and particularly Bitcoin, was going to do very well in that environment. And that proved out to be the case back in 2020. Okay, let me explain it for your Indian audience. Why do Indians buy gold? So when you look at gold in rupee terms, it's gone up. What has the rupee done over the last 20 years? Gone down. Why? Because of inflation and central bank policy and those kind of things. Indians buy gold because it maintains their purchasing power over time. And it's worked astonishingly well. It's the same with crypto. What you're hedging here is not inflation, i.e. prices rising, which is usually demand or supply driven. What you're hedging is the debasement of currency, where your purchasing power goes down. So, okay, let's go back one step. What is Bitcoin? Bitcoin is a scarce digital asset, and we either choose to accept it or not, right? Like everything, like gold it's just a metal. But the meme says we should accept it as something of value. So Bitcoin is a meme that is the digital store of value. But it is also a technology. So if we think of Ethereum now and the rest of the crypto space, this is a new tech of which we can use blockchain for a whole bunch of different things. So what we've got is the scarce asset and technology. Okay, great. That's worth something. The other side of the equation is, as you mentioned before, these however many white dudes, aging white dudes in the United States, set the monetary policy for the world, essentially. That liquidity washes in and out of markets. So when it washes out of markets, as it is right now, they're raising interest rates, and they're reducing the balance sheet. That's taking money out of the system. So it's a game of musical chairs. So what happens is people are scrambling for dollars, and both, you see currencies falling around the world, but also people can afford less assets because there's less leverage, less money around. So the price of Bitcoin and the dollar goes up because there's less dollars around.
That's what's happening right now.
That's happening right now. So if we go back to 2020, what happened was massive liquidity coming in, plus debasement of currencies, quantitative easing. Right now, we've got the opposite of debasing of currencies. We've got quantitative tightening. So the currency is actually getting stronger, so the assets should go down versus that. But back then, we had like a 50% increase in the Fed balance sheet. We've never seen that much monetary expansion in the modern history of the United States. And so what happens is you then look at all of the assets, and what did best out of that was Bitcoin, or all of crypto. Why? Because not only, so gold did okay and equities did well, but Bitcoin did really well because you had both the technology bet and the monetary bet. And so it outperforms. So if we're in an age when the central banks are straddled, the global economies are straddled with debt, and this doesn't apply to India as much as it applies to the Western developed nations, is their only answer is to print money to avoid catastrophe, because who pays the debt? So the central banks backstop it. So over time, they're going to keep doing this trick because it's a magic trick, because it makes asset prices go up and everyone looks like they're rich. But you're not rich because you actually can't afford a house because it keeps going up in value because your wages don't go up. And the asset you need to own for all of that is crypto, because it's the thing that outperforms and gives you more purchasing power. The US is 25% of world GDP. It is 87%, the US dollar is 87% of every trade transaction in the world. And it's also the most indebted nation in the history of the world. It's 100% of world GDP in debt. But not only that, everybody else is in debt in dollars. So when things get scary, you go to the safest asset, which is the dollar. But there's always a scarcity of dollars because the US is only 25%. So it can't ever generate enough dollars for the system until it massively prints dollars and then gives them out to people. So the dollar is always in short supply globally. And in recessions, it's in extreme short supply. So right now, because the Fed are taking dollars out of the system, the dollar is going up a lot. So over time, this dollar shortage just keeps playing out. Everybody uses the dollars because they have to, because 87% of trade is in dollars. So you've kind of got a gun to your head. You need to use dollars. So when India buys oil from Mexico, let's say, whoever you buy it from, or from Saudi, you pay dollars. That's neither of your base currencies, but you have to go and buy dollars in the open market to do that. Well, it's not your currency. It's not the Saudis' currency. Yeah, sure, Saudis pegged to the dollar because they have to be, because oil's priced in dollars. So this is the issue, is everything is in the dollar and nobody has it. And the US is in control of it, which is why those bunch of baby boomers based in Washington control the world. So it becomes a riskier and riskier bet at all times. Now, that means that the central banks are aware of that, so they try not to let things go wrong. So what do? Print more money, which makes the house prices go up even more, so people have to use more leverage. You can either blow up the entire system and destroy everybody and all wealth, or you can try and do this and hope that over time that the purchasing power of money erodes the debt. That's yet to be proven out. The US did that in the 1940s after World War II. They kind of had negative real rates, so interest rates less than inflation for an extended period of time, so the debt burden went down. But we haven't done that very well so far. I mean, debt to GDP keeps rising.